How's it going, everybody? This is Brandon, and we're doing another video about Premiere. If you haven't already seen the getting started and capturing and importing and working around footage video, I suggest you look at that if you're a newbie to this. Otherwise, I'm going to get started by looking at the project window and how to move around in here and how to do three-point editing inside the project window, as well as three-point editing inside of the source window. And we'll also take a look at insert and overwrite. And we'll also learn what a lift is and what a ripple delete is. Let's get started. So when you're working in the project panel, we can click on folders, and if we double click on them, they open up by default in a new window. So if I start opening up a whole bunch, this can get really messy quickly. So another thing you can do is to simply hold down the Alt key, Alt or Option key, and then click on double click, and that will open it up in a new tab. Now we can toggle easily between the original and the folder. And then to close this out, we can just simply hit the X right here. So if we wanted to set this up as a default, we could go up to Premiere Pro, Preferences, and then to General. And once in here, it says bins, and double click open in a new window. So if we just simply change that to open in a new tab, every time we double click, we're going to get a new tab now. So click OK here. Back here in the project area, if I double click on something, it opens the new tab. So I don't have to hold down the Alt key anymore. So let's look at some ways of moving around here as well. So if I double click on this, now we're in a new tab. And I am in list view, but I would like to change this to icon view. And here you are in icon view. And all the video files are loading up. And you can see I have hover scrub, so when I move over these videos, I can actually see them. So if you want to do three-point editing, we can click on one of these. So I've got one selected here, and notice that I can see this orange here and a little play that I can actually scrub this, and I can use my J, K, and L keys to navigate this. And if I choose a point where I want to set an in point, I can hit my letter I, and notice how the orange has trimmed in, and I can move forward, and then I can hit an O here. And now I've set 2 points in and out. I can simply grab this and click and drag this over to the timeline to place it on the timeline, or I could just use a shortcut, comma, and there we have placed it on the timeline. Let's take a look at the timeline over here. There is the cut that has the in and the out points. So this is what's called the three-point editing. 1 point for the in point, 1 point for the out point of this incoming clip, and then 1 point where it's put, which is at where the playhead is at. And the playhead was at the very beginning. So that's how we can do real simple and really fast three-point editing. I like this. You can use the hover scrub and find stuff very quickly, and I could just move on to another one and set in and out points just by setting the I and the O, and then I could again place it over here using the comma, and there we go. We can't see because it's right at the beginning. Way at the beginning over here, you can see that we have 2 clips. Here's the first clip, and here's the second clip. And that just gets laid down, and this playhead gets bumped all the way to the end of the last clip that's put in there. So I just got there by hitting the down arrow, and then the next clip that we set will fall into place. So this is a quick way to do a rough cut by just putting clips in one by one in sequence. Let's look at some other ways that we can put it in there. If we double click, it loads up into the source window. Now the source window allows us to use the J, K, and L keys as well, and we can set in and out points, and we can also do the comma, which now we can see here as an insert, which means that it inserts it in there, and if it was cutting any video, it would push it over, which I'll show you in just a second. Or overwrite, which is a period. So let's look at this. We'll just double click on one, and an in and out point have already been set for this, but just because it was set doesn't mean that I can't reset it again. So I've just changed it. Now notice that with this in and out point set here, this number here shows me where the playhead currently is, and this number over here shows me the duration between the in and the out. So that's really too long of a cut, right? So we would want something less than 1 minute and 43 seconds. So we can actually get a lot of information just like that. And oh, here I see now I've got a 29-second, and here's, you know, just a 7-second clip right here. Now we can use all these transport controls like you've seen, the insert being the period, or we can just use keyboard shortcuts. So if I just use the comma, and you can see it was just inserted at the playhead. Now let's demonstrate the difference between insert and overwrite. If I move my cursor over here and I choose a different video to load up in the source window, and again set an in and an out point. Now if I choose insert, there will be a cut that happens here. The total duration of this video will be extended because it will insert it in between there. So this area right here will then bump over. So if I hit insert now, or comma, you can see that it bumped it, and sure enough our total duration just changed and extended out. I'm going to undo that. Now if we choose overwrite instead, it will just overwrite the information that's here and sort of stop whatever information was here. It won't put a place in here and ripple it down. So I'll go ahead and do overwrite, and you can see that it overwrote the information that's here, but then the information that was left over got picked up at this point. That's the difference between insert and overwrite. And if you don't want to see these controls right here, you can always choose to turn them off by unchecking show transport controls under our menu here. And if you do that, then you can just use the keyboard shortcuts that we've talked about to do what we've been doing here today. So last thing I want to talk about is doing a lift or a ripple delete. And with the clips that we have here, I can show you really quickly. If I select this middle one in here and I hit the delete key on my keyboard, you see I delete, but I leave a space. That's known as a lift. It's like it lifted it out. I'm going to undo that. If I hold my shift key and hit delete, or it depends on different keyboards. Some keyboards that have the delete that's in the right underneath the help menu, you can hit the shift delete there. You just have to find the right one. The one I just hit is shift delete on my keyboard, which is right next to the help and end button. I'm going to undo that, but so you can see that again. So when it's selected, shift delete, and what happens is that it deletes and it ripples everything down. So these two clips, these two remaining clips, get rippled down the timeline so that there's no gap here. So that's the difference between the lift and the ripple. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.